Clubs and studios across the country are beginning to reopen, but many are yet to be fully operational and are operating with strict health and safety guidelines, which guidelines change like every 5 minutes, with many clients utilizing the pandemic to focus on their health, which most of them are not focusing on their health. But personal training, the ones that are focusing on their health, one of the only things they can do is personal training. So what we want to look at is this draws great fitness business, but our amazing panel of experts are actually going to give us insights on how and why we should be incorporating remote personal training sessions from our facilities, and also how to do it well. So we're going to start. I'm actually going to introduce everyone. I got to introduce Chris Stevenson. Look around for the guy who's trying to grow a mustache. Look around for the guy who's a little furrier than most. Sorry, Paul, and thank God, Carrie. Okay, but Chris is an international speaker who regularly presents at fitness and business events across the world. He just launched a new program that I believe he brought in from England called, would you put the finger away or I'll show you, anyway, Be Military Fit. BMF, Be Military Fit. Very cool. Small group training programs, outdoor group training programs. Carrie Kepple is the IHRSA Board of Directors acting chairwoman and is a senior level business leader with over a decade of national and international strategic and operational management experience in the fitness industry. And the CEO and co-owner of Styles Studios. It's wonderful, and it's in Southern Illinois, and she's just a gift. And Paul Christopher, who has a fabulous new haircut, is an established fitness professional in the Boca Raton area for over 20 years and is the founder of the fitness brand concept, Gravity and Oxygen. And I'm telling you, as soon as this pandemic lifts, I am visiting this man, because I keep seeing pictures of it and that fabulous studio. So I'm starting with you, Paul, because I kind of finished with you, but I'm starting with you, Paul. Tell me why we should be running remote sessions when our clubs are back open. Why should we start it, and why should we continue it?
Well, we're certainly not turning the clock back on technology. So it's here to stay. And the idea is, if you have to pivot and shift your brand and your business, then technology is the avenue to go. So if you have people equally fearful of attending your gym physically, tangibly, as opposed to people who are comfortable with being there, why not cater to both of them? So the aspect of having a beautiful facility doesn't mean you just have to have people walk through your tangible doors. So if you have technology, you have Wi-Fi, you have microphone, you have iPhone, you have camera, you should be able to have business profit and revenue based upon that. Why deny the opportunity to accommodate all crowds, whether they live a mile down the road or 300 miles away? If they believe in your brand and believe in what you're doing fitness-wise, then absolutely put your tentacles out there virtually and maximize the chance. It'd be an opportunity cost if you don't.
How did you do that? How did you start?
How do we start virtually, or how do we start?
Yeah, how did you start at Gravity and Oxygen? Because I know you deal with a very exclusive clientele.
So it started with a brand working with high-end beach volleyball players in South Florida that after 4 or 5 years turned into a tangible gym that we now have 5,000 square feet, indoor, outdoor. And then of course, through necessity, you had to shift with the pandemic. So we were closed by the state of governor of Florida for 2 months, and we had to then shift to virtual workouts. So to maintain revenue and value for our membership, we not only did an equipment loan program, but to utilize that equipment while staying at home quarantining, we offered 55 virtual workouts. So we did it every day at 11 a.m. And then we recorded it on Zoom and on Facebook to allow people who couldn't watch at 11 a.m. to watch it throughout the day in accordance with the equipment that they borrowed, and also with our system of training with the idea of gravity and oxygen. We rotate 6 main templates, 3 being strength gravity based, 3 being oxygen cardio based. So that way they can seamlessly maintain their fitness while we were closed. And then while we were closed, as you famously know, we added the 2,000 square feet of outdoor turf during the closure. So we had a beautiful gift to give to people once we opened up again in May to add more value. And then we definitely have gotten an ROI on that turf usage, knowing that people would feel more comfortable coming back to a group setting in an outdoor environment. And now we also, with that beautiful aesthetic, now do virtual training outside with that turf. So you see how the triangle all came together.
Yeah, you kept growing it. I'm going to ask everybody on the webinar, do me a favor, move your mouse and you will see at the bottom of your screen that bright green share button. Go to the left of it. You'll see the chat box and you'll see that there's a red bubble that says 10. Do me a favor, click on it. And you guys can, I see where a bunch of you guys are from, the San Francisco Bay Area, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Raleigh, North Carolina. I love seeing where you guys are from. I love that Mike Lieber is running our webinar tonight, and he actually put a link into gravityandoxygen.com, which is Paul's website. So you can take and you can actually look at his facility. So that live link is there in the chat box. So I got people from Chicago suburbs, Staten Island, etc. Carrie, how did you and your gym adapt to it? Because you've got a very unique business model, and I believe that you have multiple studios. It's almost like you've got boutique studios within your entire Styles brand.
Yeah, that's right. So our facility is 4 unique boutique studios under one roof for one price. So it's the best of like the boutique studio experience, but with a health club model, right? So similar to Paul, when this all happened and we knew we were going to shut down, we always had a desire pre-COVID to spread ourselves into people's lives outside of our 4 walls. That was always our deep desire, is to find a way to do what we call remote access to our studios for our members any given time. I know everybody calls it live stream, but I like to call it remote access because I think they're your paying members anyway, and it is a window into a studio that they can experience live or they can experience at home. We also do personal training. And during that pandemic time, we took the opportunity to set up the technology to do the remote access classes for people at home. But we also took the initiative of offering at the start, we did use with our personal trainers, some free virtual personal training sessions. And the reason why we started free is because we wanted people to get exposure to it, but we also just genuinely wanted to help people just at a time of great need, and we weren't ready to monetize it yet. But the benefit of what's happened on the back end of this, now that we've reopened, even though we have capacity limitations, is we have quadrupled our personal training revenue. Not that it's a lot because we're not super big in personal training, but literally like people started buying packages thick and fast. And I found that really fascinating because we're not a heavily personal training focused business. And also something that we created, we have an app now on Apple and Google, which is called Hustle at Home. And, it's not expensive, but it's got because we started at the start of COVID, we have over 125 workouts that are like basically made fresh daily by our Amy, who's our national strength and conditioning coach. And that has allowed us an avenue to expand our brand and our offering internationally. Even not that we have a ton of people on the platform yet, but it's gathering steam, and it's just something that sets a foundation for being able to help more people and being able to monetize something to help with lost revenue, but also just to get your brand out there. So there's so many benefits around shape-shifting our mindset from the old school days where we had to force people to come into our facility. That's the only way to make money. That's not true anymore. It's just not.
And I love that what I'm hearing is, the shift to personal training, and that it's just, I can't say it's just revenue laying out there for you, but I gotta say, it looks like it's a great opportunity. And I have seen a lot of group fitness instructors now shifting to do small group training and also to do personal training. And I do highly encourage that. I think, Paul, you saw that. And Carrie, you're nodding because you never really did a lot of personal training to begin with.
No, not at all. And I think there's one thing that I will share that we did, we're back with a smaller capacity, but we introduced, similar to you see boutique studios do this, right? Instead of just relying on a membership model only, they do drop in for X dollars a class. In our market, we started just to say drop in for 10. And all of a sudden we tripled our leads. We had an amazing sales month before the governor just restricted us a couple of months. And I think there's something to be said about really looking at the opportunities to even monetize drop-ins for even the group classes, right? Even and I would love to get into the future where I have the ability to offer that online, drop in for $5 or whatever that is. So,
and a drop in for personal training would be pretty darn cool.
Amazing.
I mean, if you had a personal trainer there and you said, but I think it's personal. I think they like that connection. Chris, I'm going to jump to Chris here. I know you're doing Be Military Fit, and I know that it focuses on the small group, but you are on a tremendous number of webinars, frankly, worldwide, and events worldwide. What are you hearing about personal training and what's been the most successful as far as remote access?
So I think, first of all, people definitely want to get back in clubs. So I think there is a fear out there that virtual will replace the in-person experience. And globally, we're seeing what everybody's calling the pandemic fatigue, right? So people are starting to break guidelines because they just want to be together. So there's no fear that people want to come back to your clubs. But to your original point, virtual and what Paul and Carrie both had to say is virtual is here to stay. And we've been locked down. Well, we're still locked down. We're in California, but people have been locked down long enough that habits have been formed. So, 21 days from the tipping point to a habit and an average of 66 days to form a habit. So people have gotten used to this virtual thing and it's become habitual for some people. And again, prior to the pandemic, if you would have said, hey, sir, I'm going to train you virtually, you'd be like, no, that's weird. And now it's been normalized. So that's been good. But so knowing that it's sort of a normal thing now, what we're seeing, and I think what we're going to see as we move forward is, one, it's going to be a great way to engage with your clients who want to be back there, but can't at certain times. So forget about the pandemic. They go on vacation. It's totally normal to still train with you twice a week, or they can't get in because of work or their schedule or whatever. It's going to be normal to then use a session. So I think trainers are going to see session usage increase, because before, if you couldn't get in, you couldn't get in, you didn't use up that package. So I think that's going to be very beneficial to trainers in general. And the other thing to think about, for those of you on the call that are trainers, is going to increase your reach. Right? Social media increased our reach. So if you put out great content, you got a great brand, doesn't matter if somebody lives across the country, they now have access to you or your staff as a professional. So independent of just being able to engage more often with your current members and meet them, some of them who want to be engaged in that space, you're going to dramatically increase your reach and have a customer base that you wouldn't have been possible prior to this normalization of virtual training.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how you talked about accelerate. And when you specifically said, you get used to it. I'm like, I'm victim. Okay. I couldn't make it to my yoga class the other day. And I thought, forget it. I'm just going to stream it. And I ran down to the basement and I opened up the computer and I was there. I wasn't late. I didn't have to get in the car. My dog had an operation. So I've had to kind of hang around because God knows I need another child, right? So, and for people who don't know, I already have 4 children and a husband. And now I also have oh my God. So it was wonderful. And that acceleration, do me a favor, Chris, I want you, it's second nature to you, but I want you to reiterate, you said 21 days and then you said 66 days. Talked about, just reiterate that one more time, how people get used, how they build habits.
Yeah, so generally habits, again, most studies will show that about 21 days for the tipping point. So if you want to change it, if you want to break a habit or you want to create a good habit, if you can get through 21 days, you've been through the hardest piece, but then generally it becomes subconscious after 66 days. So it's interesting, you'll find plenty of people who go to clubs that they don't particularly like, but it's their habit. They're used to drive. I mean, I won't say the club that I go to, but it's, it's very average at best. And, but people they're never in there raving about it. They're like, it's close. I go on the way to work. So, that's how habits are formed. And that's just how the brain works and how we're wired. So again, being in lockdown for as long as we have, we've developed these new habits. And again, people are longing for that personal experience. So it's not like they've developed the habit of virtual. I mean, some will have developed the habit of, I just work out at home now because it's easy and I'm used to it. People will want to go back, but it'll have been, again, normalized to do virtual. So when you as a trainer, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. Well, I also wanted you just to mention, before we turned the camera on, when we were running around fixing sound, but you talked about quality, and I thought that was very interesting because, you know, we've been here like 9 months, and when we first started Zooming, it was like my mantra was just turn the camera on, make every mistake you have to make, learn how to do it. That's how we learned how to personally train. That's how we learned how to teach group exercise. That's how I learned how to run a business, is just do it. Every mistake in the world is not a mistake, it's a learning, and then and you advance. But you mentioned that you think if you're going to go in and start this personal training, if you're going to launch it in your facility, if you're going to launch it out of your basement, you better do it right.
Yeah, so I think it should be viewed as a standalone product, right? So I offer in-person training and I offer a virtual training. It shouldn't be, I'm only doing virtual because we can't do in-person training. And, you know, Paul had mentioned prior, you know, sometimes when we were talking technology, sometimes we think technology in the cloud and wearables, but Paul's like, how about technology like good lighting and a good microphone and a good camera and a good internet? That's all important. But yeah, you want to position it as a standalone product. So I train in person. I also train virtually. That way you don't diminish the quality as well. Because if you're like, I'm only doing this and it's kind of shoddy, then people are going to want to pay less for it. They're not going to appreciate it the way they appreciate the in-person training. So create it, and same thing with outdoors. Like what we're doing is we're doing and what Paul did with his outdoor area, make it an experience. It can't feel like we're only outside because we have to be, right? Sorry. It's going to be like, no, we now have a great outdoor experience with the decor and the setup and all of that. So the same thing is to be said with virtual. Do it right. And plus, you've got so much competition now. If you're not doing a great job, somebody else will, and they're going to take your business.
And I'm just going to say from personal experience, it's not that hard to do it right. It really isn't. It's like I'm going to use Kelly Roberts as an example. She leads our personal training certification. And Kelly is in LA. She's very cool and hip, but her apartment is small because everything is small, right? So she just navigated everything, set up this screen, made it work, and it looks great in a lot of respects. For me, I'm wearing my my tights and my gym shoes right here. I look great from about here up. You know, you don't have to clean your whole house or navigate every piece of equipment in the world to make something look quality. You can control it. So Carol asks, so do you charge differently for virtual versus in-person training? Paul, I'm going to throw, great question, Carol. I'm going to throw that at you. Boom.
Well, we've beat this horse a few times there, Sarah, for sure. So an hour of your time is an hour of your time. Okay, your knowledge, your talent, your effort doesn't change. So I do not charge differently for virtual. Pardon my 4-year-old is at the window. He's anxious to see Dad. So I do not charge differently for virtual to in-person because the time, the talent, the effort, the program design, creativity, and effectiveness is still the same, seamless across the board. So I charge the same for both.
And I think that that's very important. I have heard that over and over again. So Carol, whatever you charge before, you should charge now. And also, if you're starting, look what's going on in the environment around you, what other people are charging, and try to stay at a similar price. But one thing to keep in mind is the economy is somewhat suffering, but there's a large number of people that are not. They're thriving. Look at the owners of Zoom. Look at the owners of, some of these technology businesses that are going on there. And God knows, I wish I got into the toilet paper business. So, Chris, on that note.
Yeah, so just a follow up to what Paul was saying, I think for whatever reason, there's this mental block that we feel like if all of a sudden we're doing it virtual, it's just not as valuable. And that's not the case at all. As Paul said, you may even have to prepare harder to do virtual sessions, right? You got to work harder on your cueing because you don't have that physical interaction. But a good friend of mine and a great fitness professional that's actually on the board of directors with myself and Carrie, Luke Carlson, the minute they had the shutdown, he's a brilliant guy. I hope he's not listening because I always make fun of him. And if he hears me say brilliant, it's kind of like a Bill McBride thing, right? I can't give him a compliment, but I am. But Luke said he pulled his team together, and the minute they went to virtual, which was the day their lockdown happened, he said, "What do we sell?" And the answer was expertise. We don't sell machines. We don't sell a physical space. We don't sell location. What we sell is our expertise that we study and work hard at. That is what we sell. And it's, our expertise is the same price no matter how we deliver it. So for those of you, if you're having any insecurities about charging the same, or you feel like you shouldn't, remember that story, because even hearing that, I was like, that is really good.
Chris, if I can pigtail off that, Sara. So another colleague told me a long time ago, an amazing story to touch on that. So Pablo Picasso, back 100 years ago, in a park in Spain, is painting a beautiful painting of the landscape of the park. And a woman comes up and says, ma'am, or sir, you do incredible art. Would you mind painting a portrait of me? And he says, ma'am, I would be absolutely honored to do so. So he says, please sit down on this stool. So he's now looking at her self-portrait. He's creating the basis of it. And then he goes and spends about 30 minutes doing a beautiful portrait. And he says, ma'am, I am all done. She comes around, sees the easel and says, wow, that is magnificent. How much do I owe you? And he says, ma'am, that'll be 1,000 shillings. She says, 1,000 shillings? You spent 30 minutes painting this. He says, no, ma'am, I spent 17 years. So there you go, expertise. Yeah, but I'm bummed. So Chris hit the nail on the head. It's about your expertise, no matter if it's virtual or in-house.
That's great. That's great. And I'm going to be pretty honest here. I listened to this, and we do Live Stream Mania, and we gave this incredible discount in May for our first live stream event. And so now I'm having difficulty because I need to pull back and go back to some regular pricing models. If you have discounted yourself, Chris Stevenson, if you have discounted yourself before the pandemic, how am I suddenly going to begin to elevate my prices? Let's use personal trainers as an example.
Well, it's hard, right? And there's no nobility in undervaluing yourself, but you just keep it consistent with where you're at. And then as you demonstrate your professionalism and your expertise, that's when you have the ability. And the busier you get, obviously, then you can slowly raise your prices. I mean, probably strategically now is not a great time to suddenly dramatically increase your prices just with everything that's going on. But in the back of your head, you look at your model and where you're at, keep stuff priced the same, and then start to bring that value up over time.
And being very, I feel always being very open with where you're coming from. Like a lot of instructors, when they were doing programming that was free, like they would do a small group programming just to get their clients like moving. And then suddenly said, okay, this is my profession and this is what I'm going to be doing. And we're going to be charging because I have to feed my dog and send my kids to college. Carrie, please.
I just wanted to add, so for example, for example, our Hustle at Home product that we sell, we started through the pandemic giving it for free just to our member base to keep them engaged and keep them going. But we've gone out, we're going out this month actually to say, thanks for sticking with us. We hope you've enjoyed your free time of this new product that was born out of COVID and the need to help everybody stay going through this crazy time. And now we're reaching a new year, and in order for us to afford to keep, driving this new product into the future this year, you either opt in to pay this per month for it or not, or whatever. So we're just going out with communication now. So if you offered something for free, as my point is, now just because you're trying to protect your core and keep your community engaged doesn't mean that that's not a product that you can't now monetize moving into the new year in the future, right? So you've just got to be, aware of the opportunities and, like you said, Sara, open, transparent, and honest with why you're doing that, And there is a really good, I just wanted to also say your point where you said you started to give a good discount on your Mania's early days. And how do I pull that back now? Because, I'm sure you're thinking, gosh, was that one of my mistakes of learning, like we all do through this time, there's a really good book that someone gave me, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago called Worth Every Penny. It's a very short read, but it is about reframing your mind about your business or your service to be more of in the boutique, like not just boutique fitness as we know it, but just boutique business, meaning no dirty retail. Instead, you're pricing with value add. So it's like you're changing the perception of how valuable your services are by the way in which, if you have a deal or an offer, like we have a rule in our business, we never discount the price of our membership. Never, not once. But if I have a New Year's deal or whatever, I might offer you a free gift card to shop with us if you know, or something to that nature. So I'm value adding versus taking price and revenue away from myself for the volume play. So just as food for thought for everybody out there, if you're, you know, personal training business and your parameters that are restricting you are time in the day and number of clients you can take and all of that good stuff. If it helps, that was a really good book that shifts your mindset a little bit.
And what was the name of that book again?
Worth Every Penny.
Worth Every Penny. Chris?
So what Carrie said is something that you guys should all really take note of. The last thing you want to do when you have limited capacity, and it's still going to be a while, right? The vaccines have been announced, but it's going to be a while before facilities are back to, you know, 100% of what they used to operate at. The last thing you want to do is decrease pricing right now and diminish the revenue you have, because you're nowhere near where you would be. So what she's talking about, added value, you know, you charge the same price, but you're offering this as well, that's maybe not expense related, right? Even if it's perceived value over the top, but do not, because you're not going to be at 100% of where you need to be for a while. So just don't discount pricing right now.
That's interesting. That's very wise. I do know that if you can increase volume, you can decrease the per visit price. So if you want, let's say you're charging $100 for one personal training session. If they sign up for 3 sessions and they prepay, it might be $90 per session. So I guess what type of model are you using, Paul? Are you doing a package discount pricing?
So what we offer in our facility is both group classes and personal training. So we have price points for each of those. Now to touch on what the other panel speakers have said is, you know, we talked about charging the same virtually or in-house. No matter what, for both divisions, group or personal, we do have low barrier offers. So within group, the first experience is complimentary. Then we have a 2-week unlimited intro offer for $49, unlimited classes. Then you get into your membership tiers of $4, $8, $12 per month or fully unlimited. For the personal training, we also have packages, a la carte packages of 10 for both half hour and 1 hour. And then we have memberships. So the memberships are recurring EFT billing every 30 days that are at a slightly less price point than the packages. So some people like the pricing discount with the accountability of maximizing those sessions every month. But some people like the flexibility, whether they're going out of town for business or vacation, of the packages that do not expire. What we're transitioning to.
So I'm going to ask you, if let's say I did that one free, like Carrie, I really liked your idea of starting with maybe half-hour sessions that are free personal training, half-hour sessions, just for someone to try. And then what would you charge, Paul, for one personal training session? That not just
Okay.
you, typical.
Okay, so I'll complete my my cycle. So I talked about the low barrier offers for group. For personal training, strategy session, which is a 30-minute consult and tour of the gym, complimentary. Then we have Ready, Set, Go, the double entendre of Go, gravity and oxygen, is a 5-session half-hour package for $249. So you're paying $50 per session for the half hours as a 5-package intro offer. And then we have our normal rates, which are $65 per session for half hour. Our 1 hours are $100. If you're doing the recurring EFT membership for personal training, it's
and
$90.
EFT.
But we're going to remove that because we felt that even though people are paying $90 per session for the hours instead of the $100 for the a la carte package, that let's say they bought the 8 sessions per month EFT, but they only made.
Okay, you guys, just some people may not know what EFT is. Electronic fund transfer. So the client just automatically gives their credit card and it's going to be automatically charged. The best. Any
like Chewy.com, Sarah.
What?
Yes.
Like Chewy.com, Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
so
go ahead.
Yeah, so we clearly explained to them when they sign up for the EFT membership for personal training, sessions unused in that month do not carry over to the next month. Now, everything is copacetic until that one person does only 6 of their 8 sessions, and they feel a little salty because they want to know, wait, I paid for 8, I only use 6, they don't carry over. So we've had more of a salty effect with the memberships for personal training. So we're going to go only to package style, but as you touched on, make sure that the bottom base of the packages that you offer, that you're satisfied with the lowest rate per session. So if we're not going to offer a package of 10, a package of 20, a package of 30, and it's mostly affordable for the package of 30 bulk purchase, make sure even at the 30, that is the number per session that you as a business owner are satisfied with. So we may go now to 110, 105, 100, but if you bought the package of 30, that bare price is 100, which is our normal price now. So that's the way we're going to work with that. It's even our basement is what we're satisfied with. So that's an important fact to go with. So we're removing the salty effect of the EFT for personal training, keeping the EFT for group, but making sure that the least we'll get paid for the hours of the packages is what we're already receiving now.
And what has worked in the past for many gyms is they give that choice of either you can purchase 8 at, I'm just going to use this example of at $50 each, but you have to use those during that 1 month. But if you want to purchase 8, but you want it open-ended so you can use it through the next 2 months, it actually comes out to $55 or $60 each, because you've gained that flexibility. And the way to encourage those people to use it during that first month is incentivizing them not to quit or not to miss a day because, oh, I'm just too tired. So it actually encourages them to stay in shape. So that's the way you sell those different models to people. Chris, what other financial systems do you recommend for personal trainers or small group training? And how can personal trainers possibly migrate a little bit into small group training? So instead of making, let's say, $50 an hour, they're making $150 an hour.
I'll answer that, but with what Paul and Carrie were both saying too about pricing strategies, that's absolutely dead on. And that's great advice to anybody on this call. So when I said, don't ever discount, if you're going to get somebody that's going to lock in for a period of time or volume, absolutely discount, because you'd rather have more income coming in. So it was more of that, like Chris or Paul said, coming towards the end is you know what your bottom line price is and don't go below that. We actually worked with the club in the UK that's a lower cost club, and their immediate reaction to the pandemic was, we got to lower prices even more. And I was like, no, you don't, because again, you're not going to be at full capacity for a while. Competitors are going to close. You've got to spend more money on your protective gear and your disinfecting. So you don't just jump to that conclusion, like I got to lower prices. But with the small group training versus the individual training, obviously, like our BMF is built on large group training and then some personal training as well. And what you want to do is find a balance in your business model that makes sense and works to you, right? So you're going to figure, if I do X amount of small group at this rate for people to participate, and then my one-on-ones are here, and then you kind of run your own numbers and figure out what makes the most sense revenue-wise for you. But you can make a lot more in one small group session generally than you can with individualized personal training. So you could come up with creative packages where you're going, hey, you're going to do a small group, you get 2 small group and 1 individual a week, and then you sell it as small group is fun. If you're still going to get almost personalized attention, and then we'll have the one-on-one day to do all the very specific stuff we need to do. So that's a great way to kind of package that together.
Paul?
So I'm going to play off that small group training. It's an absolute great point. So I think that is the true win-win. So if people were in the large group experience, but now they're cautious because of being around COVID and high number of people, then that next level upcharge is the small group. So they can justify being around 4 to 6 people and paying 30 to 45 per session, as opposed to doing their unlimited for $165 per month. So they're willing to go that middle ground, as opposed to maybe the premium of $100 for one-on-one is too big of a jump when I was in high volume group. So just this morning, as being an owner of a facility, my time is precious, being not only a technician, but also the manager and the owner. So twice a week, I hold what's called the Morning Lift Bro Club. So it's only a small group of men that train with me, and they're paying $45 per person to work with me. So this morning, I had 7 guys in my class. Do the math, 7 times 45. That's a pretty good hour. That's way more than 100 per hour. So I only hold it twice a week. And the sticking point is, that you get access to the owner of the facility. So I have personally removed myself from group training. I only do one-on-one and small group and make my small group exclusive. So if you are a former group instructor and you have talent in multitasking, definitely explore the small group, because people are willing to justify going from 17 per class to 30 per person, and you may get 4 or 5 people. That's some good numbers.
Yeah, it's an excellent strategy. They actually did that at Lifetime Fitness Center. I was teaching a huge yoga class. I was getting 55 people every single class, like crammed into this room, which of course we couldn't do now. But they had a small exclusive yoga class, and they said, Sara, would you switch your Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Would you switch your Friday so that you could go into this smaller facility? And I was like, well, why should I mean, no, I want to accommodate all these people, and I don't even know what I was making per hour. And they said, well, we're going to be charging $25 a person, but we can only fit 20 people in there, and we'll give you a cut. You'll be making like $10 a head. I'm sitting there going, 20 people at 10 bucks a head, you know, where do I sign? So I went and I did it. It was because they wanted, quote unquote, the individual attention and the expertise. And I highly recommend people transitioning to that. And if you're a club owner, I highly encourage you to get your best instructor to transition into that small group arena, both financially for them and for you. And one thing we haven't touched upon is, if you're club owners, because we get a lot of club owners at our live stream mania conferences and our health and fitness business summits, we get a lot of owners there. You need to pay attention to your personal trainers now more than ever. You need to engage with your best group fitness instructors now more than ever, because you know what? They're smart. We're smart. And when we lead and when we tell someone what to do, hopefully they're a little scared of us and they do it. They follow us. If it's a right leg, if it's a left leg, of what they're going to lift or what they're going to drop, they'll do it. So they'll listen to us and they'll follow. I'm pointing at myself. Okay, come on, I'm an owner. I'm not. Yeah, but they listen to us. So as an owner and a manager and a director, I know we get very obsessed with, I mean, my chart of accounts. I live and die by my chart of accounts and how I'm going to run my conference and how I'm going to run my events. But stay in touch with your frontline workers, with your group fitness instructors and your personal trainers. And if you are a frontline worker, don't discount your own value, because what all these people are telling us is that we have value to offer individuals. Carrie, you were kind of nodding your head. How are you engaging with your personal trainers and maybe navigating some of those group instructors to become personal trainers?
Well, we actually just had one transition over and to become a personal trainer during this time too. And it's like you say, Sara, I mean, I personally think that I'm biased, but group fitness instructors have an amazing skill set that is crafted over time of being able to connect on not only, like you say, a little bit scared of us, do what I say, but they connect on an emotional community-based, level as well for people. And right now, more than ever, like I think you alluded to it earlier, with a lockdown or lockdowns or restrictions, we have never felt our freedoms be more restricted, right? So we can't go hug people when we want to. And if you're a hugger, this sucks. Like, this just sucks. And so, for example, with all of those limitations, all we do as human beings is yearn for the freedom again, and yearn for the connection, and yearn for the belonging. So I'm a huge fan of recruiting our group fitness instructors to also become personal trainers. They have so much expertise to give in that field, but also in the people field. Like no member runs up to a treadmill and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I wasn't here for the last 2 weeks. I was on vacation," right? But they will run up to their instructor and go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I missed you." So I don't know if that fully answers your question, but it hit me when you said that yes, it's absolute opportunity for any business owner to look at the team they have, connect with the team they have, open up the conversation, right, about what you're looking to do, whether it's introduce small group training or virtual PT, and, you know, express how it would work, and then see who's interested. You might be surprised.
Yeah, interesting. And now I'm going to throw this out to everyone. And Paul, if it's your son, if you want him to come and sit on your lap, we would love to see him.
Okay.
And that's what I love about these webinars is yes, we want to be very professional. We've all at least showered. Well, a couple of us have. But we are personal. So this is fun. What technology should be upgraded or implemented to ensure remote trainings are successful? And again, I'm going to go back to you, Chris, because you mentioned that we've got to make our environment high quality. Are there certain technologies that you've seen be more successful than others?
So full disclosure, I've presented, as you mentioned, all over the world on every subject in our industry except for technology. So that is the one area
and Carrie, what are your thoughts on? I'm just kidding.
But I will tell you this, from a simple standpoint of, again, not to beat a dead horse, but with Paul in the beginning, the technology that you use to Zoom properly, again, the lighting, good internet connection, good camera, good microphone, good sound system for music, and making sure that all works really well. That's essential. I think sort of the other piece would be thinking of those third-party apps like a MyZone and a MyFitnessPal and Apple Watch, and connecting with your members in that area. That way you're engaging with them outside the personal training. So, hey, great job closing your rings on your Apple Watch today. Or, hey, I just noticed that you stayed at your, the caloric recommendations that we had for you on MyFitnessPal. So I think all those connected mediums, you engaging with them in those areas is huge, because when you look at a customer journey in a facility, like I'm sure Paul and Carrie have mapped out, and we had in our old facilities, but you have every step where you engage, from greetings at the front door to engaging on the floor to all the different areas. I would sort of rewrite that customer journey in your virtual space. And in the virtual space, there is going to be more technology involved. So how am I engaging on a regular basis, and with what technology, so that the connection is always there? We're always checking in on them. We're always telling them what a great job or where they can improve. So I think third-party apps where you can add value and connect with are important.
And I love the third-party apps, but I can't begin to tell you how many times I've got apps on there, and there's that little red circle with 1, 2, and I'm not going there. Text messaging, 90% of people open their text message. So if one thing I can tell you guys, collect cell phone numbers. Because I've got one yoga class I go to that she's always posting on Facebook. Well, I'm not going on Facebook. Don't post where you go. Think about where they're going. That's one thing I might recommend. I am going to ask Mike to put this in. I don't do this a lot, but I want you to put in the virtual training certification that SCW put together. We called it a certification because we developed questions so everybody can get CECs that go along, continuing education credits. It's a great program. It's underpriced, I'll tell you, but it's wonderful. And there's also a social media training with Jessica Maurer that's exceptional as well. And I highly recommend it. Very inexpensive, but a way to really figure out how to get your messages out there. We're getting close. God, we're at 6:45. This is killing me. I want to talk for another half an hour. Paul, parting words. Give us some recommendations. You got 30 seconds, buddy.
So to circumvent around, if we're talking about virtual and being remote, how can you maximize doing small group training remotely? So I think that's the win here. That's the take-home message. Small group training. What is your platform? Connect your Zoom through your Facebook business page. Send texts out to let people know, hey, I'm broadcasting Thursday, 6 p.m. Capping it off. Put a call to action. So the technology, make sure you have a good microphone, a good camera, a direct connection with Wi-Fi that will not be interrupted. Do the small group training. Do it virtually. Do the call to action, and do it through text. How's that for 30 seconds?
Boom. Okay. Carrie.
What Paul said.
That's why I love you, Carrie. Okay, Chris.
You know, as I said earlier, treat it like a standalone product, take pride in it, do it right, reframe your thinking so that it's not something you're doing because it's the only thing you can do and you can't train live. Make it a unique offering and just do it the right way.
Okay, Carrie, I'm coming back to you. You're
Oh,
not getting off
I didn't
that
get off the hook that easy, did I?
No, you
No.
don't.
No, I mean, seriously, everything that they said. And I think to consider the fact that we're limited capacity and you as a personal trainer are limited in your parameters. And I can't stress it enough about pricing. And I love what these guys said about you're selling your expertise. So be true to that. And don't worry about, I know that sometimes that's the hardest thing to do is to say, I'm worth this, you know, but like your expertise is worth every penny to someone, and just know that. So if you're going to encourage any kind of New Year's deals coming up, just think about that, worth every penny. Don't discount that price, but add value, you know,
That's
add
great.
something else.
That is great. All right, guys, I'm going to share a quick thing with you. We've got a new Apex personal training coming up, and it's a wonderful program. It's got 50 sessions, 28 trainers, 15 CECs. It's got 2 full days. I'm going to have you watch this beautiful video that Mike Lieber created. Excellent. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate Chris, Paul, and Carrie. Next time, I want to see that kid. Next time, I want to see that mustache. And don't be late. Okay. So thank you again for coming, Mike Lieber. Thank you so much for running the program for us. And everybody, stay healthy. Wear a mask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.